All right. So, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Once again, it's tea time, but today is a live tea time. TGIF, folks, TGIF. It's Friday, and we're going to do another weekend review. I used to do this on Fridays and have different guests on board. Today, we're having Trevor Current here. Now, Trevor, let me go and bring him up. There you go. How's it going, Trevor? How's everything?
Hey, it's going good.
Good. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, it looks like our audio is going downstream. Guys, in the chat window, let us know if you're getting the audio because we did some testing and music wasn't going through and I don't know. So let us know one way or another if you're getting our audio. In the meantime, I just want to say these weekend reviews are basically kind of a recap of what happened in the photography industry during the past week, and any type of subjects that I cover, we'll just kind of discuss a little bit. There's been a lot of things going on, from the X Summit to all kinds of things with Sony and pulling out of different conferences and all sorts of things. So we're going to get into everything, but I want to say that any type of questions that you have, it doesn't matter what they are, about the topic or off topic or whatever, and you want to ask Trevor Current, or if you want to ask myself, in the comment area, or in the chat, I should say, in the chat window, ask those questions. And if you're watching this, let's say after the fact, you can always just put those questions into the comment area, and both Trevor Current and myself will respond down there. Either which way, whatever works for you. So let me start out, Trevor. Who are you? Tell everyone, what we did together, who you are, what you currently do. I guess the 15-second elevator speech.
Yeah. So first, I do want to say that I am getting feedback. I'm getting a loop of our audio. So I don't know if that's just me.
Might have to, if you're watching it at the same time, you'll have to shut off the audio on the feed that
Yeah,
you're watching. That could
I
be it.
have that off.
Oh, that's interesting. Let me see. Anyone else getting any loop back? Any double talk? Are you getting any? Right now, it's clean for me, but let me know. Once again, in the chat window, let us know how that audio is.
No feedback. Okay.
Good. Once again, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask us. So go ahead, Trevor. Let everyone know who you are, and like I said, what we did together. What's the thing? What's the deal? What's the spiel?
Yeah. So we'll just say that I'm a website developer. That's kind of what I've been doing now for the last decade plus. Formerly trained as a professional graphic designer and a photographer. And I've been doing, the creative work now for 30 plus years. And I've been in
Nice.
my own business now for 11 years. And that's what I've been focusing on over the last couple years now, since we were doing the DPC show, the Digital Photography Cafe show. I have been really building out my business and evolving it into, you know, something for future, definitely trying
Yeah.
to do that future growth.
Yeah, well, I guess that's what it seems like everyone is doing now with being at home for the last year, 2 years. People are shucking and jiving and changing up either their careers or adding on other careers, doing additional things. It's always
Right.
that idea of what do you do and then some, and what is the other thing that you do, and the hustle, so to speak. So, anyways, let's just start out real quick with I know I've told people in the past, Trevor Current is a partner of mine that we used to work together on the different shows. We did Photo Plus Expo, we did WPPI, the Wedding Photographer Professional Show over in Las Vegas. Obviously, PPE, or Photo Plus Expo, is the show that's held out of NYC in New York City and Manhattan at the Javits Center, which just yesterday I reported on was being canceled. That show is being canceled. And Trevor and myself would purchase a booth at these different shows, and we would go live and interview the CEOs, the CFOs, all of the industry movers and shakers and whatnot at the booth. And once again, we did it live and we recorded it and whatnot. So that was like what we did for about, 8 years, I think, Trevor? It was a while with Digital Photography Cafe, right?
Yeah, we did it for a long time. We started off as an audio podcast and audio only. Then I think it was around episode 100, we started doing video. And then that kind of changed everything. That kind of changed the trajectory for the show. And we really started doing a lot more of the traveling and the interviews, because now we're, audio and video. We're up on YouTube, and we had a bigger reach at that point.
Yeah, absolutely.
But doing the shows, that was a lot of fun.
It was really interesting is we were doing podcasts, right? We were doing podcasts before people even knew what podcasts were. This was 10, 12 years ago. I don't know. It's been forever now. And now it's like everyone has a podcast and we do not. I don't know. Maybe I need to turn this 600 videos or whatever on this channel into a podcast too, and just have sit downs and whatnot. You guys in the chat, let me know. Do you like that? Do you guys listen to podcasts? For so many years, people just didn't even know how to get the podcast either on their phone or how to listen to them. I think it's becoming more mainstream, and it's a little bit easier to download and listen to your podcasts, when you're not connected and whatnot. Whereas it used to be hard. You had to go through iTunes and dump the stuff on, and then it was horrible. Now it's pretty much easy or easier. And I think that's why a lot of people are doing it compared to before. But anyways, when it comes to the shows, right? I said that I think that there's other problems going on with these shows. And at the time, the Photo Plus Expo show, that Emerald Expo is the one that puts it on, basically said, listen, we're going to shut down the show because of COVID and the variances and all this stuff. And it's because we don't want, turn into some kind of super spreader event, which is good. And, I could appreciate that. But I think that that's kind of disingenuous, because it doesn't speak to the point that the photography industry as a whole has been on a downward slide, so to speak. And the shows have been impacted greatly. I mean, Photo Plus Expo is a massive show on the East Coast. You got WPPI, very big show. But we've seen shows like Photokina in Cologne in Germany just shut their doors after being around for, forever, decades and decades and decades. They were the biggest show anywhere. People would travel the world to get to Photokina, and now that is shut down. I think that a lot of these shows are going to go the same way, go to the way of the dinosaur, the way of the dodo bird. They're just not going to be able to stay afloat. And I think this is what's happening with Emerald. They're blaming it on the virus and trying to keep people safe. But I think there's an underlying issue here. And you got an email. Now, just for context, Trevor Current, myself, we went to, and actually the wives, I believe, we went to Comic-Con in NYC, in New York City, in Manhattan, at the Javits Center a few years back. And, everything was fantastic. This was pre-pandemic, and it was just a fantastic time. I love Comic-Con. You can take a look just at the studio alone. I like retro synth type of stuff. I like retro. I like comics. I like, old school retro video games, 80s stuff. I just like that whole motif, so to speak. So Comic-Con was just badass. It was awesome. But you just got you know what? I'm gonna have to bring this up, because I think this is really something that a lot of people, maybe they can appreciate, let's say. So let me bring this up on my desktop and show you. So Trevor sent this over to me. Maybe I'll make it, let me see how large I can make this. Hopefully you guys can see it. So this right here, well, that didn't work out. This right here is the message that came to Trevor Current about getting tickets for what? New York City's Comic-Con, October 7th through the 10th. So look, this right here is a promotional piece that Trevor got that basically states, hey, if buy your tickets now, we're having Comic-Con between October 7th through the 10th. It's going to be running for those 3 days. And the thing is, guys, this Comic-Con is in the exact same location as Photo Plus Expo, who has been canceled, or where Emerald Expo's canceled it. This is in the
Right.
exact same location. So to say that they're trying to save people due to the pandemic, I think is once again disingenuous, because here Comic-Con is massive. I think, and I want your thoughts on it, I think this is actually bigger than Photo Plus Expo.
Oh, way bigger. Not even a comparison. I mean, Comic Con will see over 100,000 people. I mean, they will have just 25, 50,000 people in that building a day. And Photo Plus sees nowhere's near that type of traffic. They,
Right.
you know, at the heyday, those shows were packed. Photo Plus was packed. But over the last several years, in the last couple of years that we've been there, you know, like we said, we've noticed a decline in attendance.
Right.
We've noticed a decline in vendor participation. You know, they're just not signing up to exhibit. And the reason why is because the attendance is dropping. It's not worth the money. And I honestly, I think that is the underlying issue there. um, you know, Photo Plus has been putting out for months. You know, get your tickets for the show and go to the, you know, the vendor exhibit hall and sign up for the classes and all this. And they're trying to get people to pre-register. And honestly, I think what's happening is their pre-registration was on the low side.
Right.
And you know, they cannot run a show in Javits without having a full house. That the Javits Convention Center in New York City is probably one of the most expensive venues to exhibit, simply because it's New York City. And even though their Photo Plus is only taking a small section of the convention center, it's still very, very expensive. And
Right.
everything is done by the union. You know, you can't even plug in an outlet without a
Yeah.
union guy doing it. You know, so it's very, very expensive.
I used to
And
I used to tell people that all the time. I said, listen, whenever we would go to the shows and we would get booths, the union was so just just rough. When I say rough, I mean
yeah,
rough. If you had to go up two, I think it was two steps on a ladder. If you had to go to the third step, a union guy had to do it. And it was always like,
yep,
wow, really? A union guy has to do that? Is that really necessity? Now, what they did do, Comic Con, and you can see it here, and I put it up on the screen for you guys to see. It says important. At this time, everyone age 12 plus will need to provide proof of full vaccination, and those under age 12 will need to provide proof of a negative rapid antigen or PCR lab COVID-19 test to enter the New York
right,
City's Comic Con. Now it says of obviously go over to their, health and safety guidelines to go and see before you buy tickets. Obviously, we don't want you to go and buy tickets and then obviously you can't come or you're not going to be let in. But they are doing what they need to do, let's say, to make this a big success, a big hit. Whereas we see that this is not the case when it comes to Photo Plus Expo. Sadly so. And that's why I'm saying I really think that some of it has to do with just the nature of the industry as of today. I did a piece about, I don't know, 10, 11 videos ago, and I talked about Sony and how I said Sony is not going to any events going forward for the foreseen future. Period. End of story.
right,
And at that time I said, they're not going. They're not going to go to Photo Plus Expo. They didn't go to WPPI. They pulled out literally at the last minute. And at Photo Plus Expo, they ended up pulling out also now, probably maybe even starting the whole, chain of events that happened where there is no Photo Plus Expo at all. So, you can't get these major manufacturers not show up and you still have an expo and there's no wares to see. When you went to
no,
WPPI, I was telling everyone that you go to WPPI and the only vendor that has a camera there is Sigma and Canon. The only lenses that you can see are Sigma. So it's like, well, it's a photography conference. So what do you have? You have the small mom pops, the
right.
smaller, and so that doesn't work out well. So I
No,
don't know.
it doesn't. It doesn't. And you know, aside from that, New York City is a hot mess right now. You know,
Yeah,
we've got the crime rate. You know, I mean, I don't certainly don't want to get political about anything here,
sure.
but with the administration that's in New York City right now, there's a lot of questionable stuff happening. And but whatever your viewpoints on politics are, the thing that you can't dispute is the crime rate is on the rise. Every time you watch the news at night, I live an hour and a half outside of New York City,
Right.
and our local news is New York City based news, and every night you watch the news, somebody's getting shot, somebody's getting stabbed. There's all kinds of just chaos going on in the city, and you know then couple that with there is a mandate in the city that you have to have a vaccine or show a negative test, as you just read in that Comic-Con release, in order to enter venues,
Right.
restaurants and Javits Convention Center, of course. So, these photo trade shows bring in people from all around the country and even around the world. And many people in other parts of the country, they may not be vaccinated. They may not want to fly. They may not want to go through all the hoops to attend a photography trade show that may be underwhelming.
Right.
So I think in general, because of the lack of signups combined with everything that's going on in the city, they know that they're not going to get the walk-in attendance, the people coming in off the street.
Right.
And they're not going to get people trying to fly out and deal with that, deal with hotel stays, deal with transportation once you get in New York City. So I have a feeling that the general pre-sales were very low, and they just said, forget it, we're going to mix it. I know they've been trying for a couple years now to do virtual events.
Yes.
And I'm not sure what the success was with those.
Abysmal.
I was
No, it was abysmal.
Yeah, I was not involved. I wasn't involved with them, and I didn't attend them. I didn't see any type of usage. But anything virtual is based on community. You need to have a community of people that are passionate about what you're doing, and that they're going to want to attend these virtual events in real time, at the designated time, not after the fact.
Yeah.
And, their following, I think, is dropping because, PPE and WPPI, they used to be the leaders in education and, the expos and everything. And people are finding their education and stuff elsewhere. They don't necessarily need these big organizations anymore to learn about photography, because the people that are instructing at these workshops, at these things, also have YouTube channels. They also have membership sites. They have all this stuff that they're delivering their education through.
Yeah, there used to be a time when you would be educated at your local photography shop. They would have people come in and teach you things, but it's just no longer, the case, because of local photography stores went belly up too. So Frederick says, let me see, it's disingenuous, he was obviously talking about how Emerald said, listen, we're going to kind of close it and cancel it. We're talking about PPE here, Photo Plus Expo. It says it's disingenuous, but I wonder if the virus, though a real threat, is a way to save face instead of blatantly just saying we don't have the funds to keep running. And I do think that Frederick's right there. I think that is what it was. It was a means of saving face and saying this is the issue, this is what's going on, so we're not going to have Photo Plus Expo. I would so like you were talking about with virtual, when they did virtual last year, I personally think it was abysmal. I did polls, I talked to people, and at that time, no one was watching. Okay, it just didn't happen. And this is one of the questions that was asked of Emerald and said, are you going to do this thing virtual? They didn't respond to that. But I can tell you right now, I will bet the farm on it. They will not do a PPE, a Photo Plus Expo NYC virtually this year, and probably not next either. There's just not enough ROI, not enough return on
No.
investment. The manufacturers are not going to pay for a virtual event. They can just hold it themselves. I tell you what, Fujifilm just
Yeah.
had their X Summit, and I reported on that, and they were talking about their new GFX 50 Mark II, 50S Mark II, and whatnot, new lenses and all kinds of stuff. And even though it was extremely stuffed shirt, and the guy sitting there like this, and this is the new camera, and what do you think about this? And, but that's just how their style is. But we got a ton of information. They were able to put it out there to the masses during this X Summit. A lot of people watched it, I'm sure, and all of that data was put out there. They didn't need to go and set up a $50,000, $100,000 booth over in Manhattan. They didn't need to do it. They
Right.
still got the information out there. Now, the biggest problem that I see here is that there's no tactile, hands-on when you can actually go to these
Right.
events and hand hold something. I remember one year, Trevor and I went to Photo Plus Expo in New York and at the Javits Center and held the very first Sony A7 to come out. It was like still,
Yep.
it was literally like a month out, or just, it was very, very new. And they didn't even have damn lenses for this thing. The autofocus was such crap, guys. You wouldn't even believe it. They said, bring your Canon EF glass, because that was the thing. Sony was really a proponent of Canon EF lenses, so they had an EF mount and whatnot, converter or whatever, and that was like a big thing. So I remember people were snapping on their Canon glass and testing it, and oh my God, the focus was complete crap. That camera was garbage. It was literally garbage. But I remember saying to you, and we had this conversation at the time, look at this camera. It's a mirrorless full frame camera. This is the future. This is going to be something big. It's complete shit right now, okay? But it's going to be something amazing. And lo and behold, 7 years later, they have just took the market by storm when it comes to mirrorless full frame. And now we have Canon and Nikon and everyone else shucking and jiving, trying to get a piece of the puzzle. And Sony is still commanding the lead, just like Fujifilm is when it comes to medium format. They are crushing it. And their latest medium format that I was talking to you guys about in the X Summit that just came out live, 2-3 days ago, that GFX 50S Mark II, that damn thing is going to be $39,999. Let's call it $4,000 for a medium format camera. That is insanity. That is craziness. Yeah. So if you're a portrait photographer, landscape, or you do something where it's not fast action because the damn thing only does like 5 frames per second, 8, I don't know, something, not a lot. It's not sports, action, wildlife, nothing. But just the same, I mean, you have it's amazing the amount of beautiful pixels that you have. And not just a lot of pixels, beautiful pixels, really, really good pixels. So, this is the type of things that have been going on. I mean, let's take a look in the chat window here, because there's a bunch of stuff. If you see something, Trevor, let me know, point it out, and I'm going to stick it in here so we can answer questions right away.
Yeah, Kevin had made a comment just talking about small regional in-person trade shows that offer an experience beyond just the tech could work. And I agree 100%. I mean, there's still a desire and a want for people to attend in-person events. Right. I mean, that's why Meetup was Meetup.com. That's why Meetup.com was so popular, because they were small localized events where you would get together with like-minded people, same interests. You get to rub elbows, you get to talk shop and whatever. Obviously, over the last year and a half, I mean, much of that has been put on hold and people opting for virtual, but people want to get out. They want to see people in person, and they want to be able to have the opportunity to at the photography shows. I mean, we would go there and we would meet, Joe McNally and all these different people that, were big time in the industry. We worked with a bunch of names in the industry as well on different projects and stuff. And you don't get that opportunity very often. And that's why these shows were so important. I mean, remember working with Kevin Kubota. I mean, we're standing right there chatting in the middle of the aisle, and he's commenting how he likes our shoes. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's like,
No, no,
I mean, it was just
absolutely.
fun conversation, but when do you get to have that with these bigwigs in the industry,
Right, right.
at the
I
shows?
remember that's why I'm always commenting and I throw shade on Panasonic all the time because I remember
Yeah.
talking to, the big wigs from Panasonic, the US based big wigs of Panasonic, and telling them at the time, you guys really need to get this autofocus thing straight. I mean, this contrast detect is complete crap. Number one. Number two, your GH line, while it's really good for video, the problem with it is, and I gave them a whole list of problems. Also, micro four thirds, you've squeezed the absolute crap out of it. You guys need to move forward, APS-C or full frame. And I remember, I'm not going to name names, he was like,
Yeah.
listen, you don't know what you're talking about. Micro four thirds is more than enough for all professionals out there, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. Literally a year and a half later, just eat those words, and they put out the S series, right?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
and now at least they are into the full frame mirrorless market, but they still haven't figured it out and actually put in a contrast and phase detect autofocusing system sticking with contrast detect. I don't know what is wrong with them. I mean, they're one of
No.
those companies that you can literally, it's like a horse. You lead them to water, you can't make them drink. They know what the problem is. And, so many people have speculated, oh, it's because, it's a legal thing or they can't, get the rights to doing some type of, dual pixel AF or some type of, let's say a hybrid. They can't do it. And I just think that's complete crap. They just won't do it. So, but
Yeah.
anyways, yeah, we spoke to, like I said, we interviewed so many different people. It was a fantastic time. I wish we can still do it. And I was really considering going to Photo Plus Expo this year. And hopefully you would come over across the river and see me
Yep.
there. But there's, like I said, there's something to be said about having this interaction with people. I am not, I'm behind the camera all the time talking to you guys, but it would be a hell of a lot more enjoyable to go to a location and be able to speak to you guys, shake hands, and just converse photography,
Yeah.
videography, tech, whatever the hell it is, in comparison to doing this behind the camera and then going into comments and trying to answer the comments and answer, this. I try to answer every single one on every video. All 600 videos, you'll see I'm answering all the comments. I've always done that. I feel that it's a personal level, and that's why I try taking that channel to that point. So, going forward with this, with the conventions and the conferences and now kind of like going south, I do love the idea that Kevin had that doing something locally, it's very
Yep.
easy to be able to get a representative Fujifilm or Panasonic or Canon or whoever, Sony or whatever, maybe even OMD to come out and show your wares. Bring a brand new camera. Fujifilm, bring the brand new 50S Mark II and let people hold it for 2 hours while you talk about it and, push the product, let's say, and show all the great things about it. Same thing with Sony and all the rest of them. I like the idea. I think that it's a great idea, Kevin. But the problem is a lot of these photography stores, these local photography stores, have gone out of business. They're not even there anymore. So at that point, what do? You say, well, maybe we, somehow, reinvent the photography store and turn it into like this hand holding type of thing. The problem is people will come into your store, hand hold the damn cameras, and then go onto their phone
Yeah.
and Amazon Prime the crap to their house the next day at like
Yeah.
$200-300 less than you can sell it for. So, it's like a catch-22.
Yeah, and we've seen the photography stores dwindle over the years as well. There just isn't the demand for people to be going into the stores and buying products because they can do their shopping online. They can learn about everything they want online. They can go and order it online, whether it, from the big box retailers or the smaller shops, but they have other means of getting it. So these small camera shops are dwindling as well. But I do like the idea of getting in-person events together, getting reps to come out, like local reps. So, nobody's getting on an airplane. Maybe you're driving an hour or two to get somewhere, but you have manufacturers all over the country, all over the world. And it's possible to create, localized events, bring people in, bring instructors in, and have, even if it's like 50 people, but 50 dedicated people that you're all sitting around a couple tables and just, shooting it for a while and
Right.
talking shop and getting the opportunity to, let these manufacturers bring stuff with them,
Right.
product with them that you can put your hands on and then say, we don't care where you buy it. Go home and order it from Amazon because we're selling it to Amazon, or we're selling it through the distributors to Amazon or wherever. I think at this point you have to go direct to the makers. I feel for the photography store owners. I mean, that was an awesome business at one point in time. I mean, I remember going to my local camera shop and buying film and getting my hands on cameras and developing film and stuff like that. And eventually the camera business migrated into VHS videotape rentals and then
Right.
DVDs. And then camera was like one little showcase and they had a machine in the back that still processed film,
Yeah. Look at
and
this.
then,
Look at this, Trevor, real quick. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it there. Probably has some glare. Look at that. This one, this was one of the
yeah,
badge. This is one of the press badges from 2006.
yeah,
2006, right? We have these
yeah,
things
yeah,
dating back to what is it, like '08 or something? This one was, let me see, this is Photo Plus Expo. But for all the different, all the different venues, we've been, like I said, covering this forever. And it seems to be like just slowly going down. I love the local idea. I think local would be let me see. Did it come through? Were you guys able to see it? Let me check. Let me see. There we go. Let me switch cameras. There we go. There it is. Yeah, this is the
there
20.
it
This
is.
is the 2016. Crazy, crazy. But anyway, so yeah, this right here is, God, what are we now? Like 5 years ago, something like that. And it's just, I haven't been back for, I think what, about 4 years now. I know that, I think we got one or
Yeah.
two after that, maybe 3 years. Anyways, it's just horrible, absolutely horrible. But I do think local is good, but it's like, how do you make it happen is where we fall into that problem. It's just going to be an issue. Now, someone in the chat, I'm not sure who, was talking about Sony and their autofocus. One of the reasons why I'm shooting on this camera right now is the ZV-1. All right, little tiny point and shoot looking thing. It does a really good job for what it is. I have all kinds of Canon gear, but I'm shooting on Sony. Why? Because the
Yep.
autofocus is so damn good. If I turn
Yeah.
just slightly to the left, it will pick up, and I can see on the screen pointing at me, yes, fully articulated back screen, right? Not like other companies that
Yep.
don't do it. Right here, it's locked in on this eye. If I turn a little bit to this side, it's now locked in on this eye. So not only is it finding the eyes, but it's also finding the spatial distance between the eyes
Right.
and locking on the
Yep.
closest eye is just so damn good, right?
Yeah.
So, and
It
that's
is.
that's what happens when you start combining the same thing with Canon with their dual pixel AF. I really do think we're going to see a quad pixel AF most likely in the R1. Don't quote me, but I feel like it's probably going to come because I saw a lot of patent information about a quad pixel. So we'll see what ends up happening. But it could happen. It's possible. But once
Yep.
again, the autofocus is so just bang on when it comes to these Sonys. It's just, they're cheap. They get the job done. Why look at some of the bigger things? And that's what gets into, or why you are currently looking into one of the Sonys. You might be moving,
Yeah.
possibly. Let me bring it up here so you guys can see it. This is what Trevor was telling me earlier today, what he was looking at. And what that is the
Yeah.
brand new Sony E or ZV-E10. So this right here is almost
Yeah.
identical, not quite, but almost identical to the point and shoot ZV-1 that I have, right? But it's more robust, obviously. And instead of a 1-inch sensor, it is an APS-C sensor. But this thing looks
Yeah.
pretty good.
It does look good. Yes. So for my needs, I'm not shooting still photos on a regular basis any longer. I used to do that years ago and we would, work with the higher end Canons, the 5D Mark II and stuff like that. That's really not what my business does anymore. But what we are doing more of is content creation. So our clients come to us for their website development needs. We have contracts with them to help them with their website on a monthly basis, whether that be updates, creating content, what have you. And over this time, we've been approached about content creation, audio, podcasts, video, YouTube, TikTok, not so much. It's not the type of clientele we deal with. But being able to produce high quality video, like your video looks great on these shows that you do. I mean, the quality of your image, both from the Sony and your Canon that you have there, look phenomenal. And while 4K is all the rage, it's not necessary still. 1080p is still just fine. And working with these Sony cameras while they shoot 4K, you get beautiful 1080. And I really like the new ZV-E10 because now it has the interchangeable lenses.
Right.
So my
It
old
sounds like a
Canon
paid
stock,
promotion for Sony's ZV-E10.
yeah, I know,
But
right? But I just like the idea of the video features of that Sony. It
right.
makes producing the content easy. I like the interchangeable lenses because now you have more control, rather than just working with a fixed zoom lens on the ZV-1. You can slap on get your wide angle as wide as you want. You can do a zoom
Right.
and what have you. So, that one really interests me a lot.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a pretty good. I mean, I would like to take a look at it. The price is literally the same, I would say.
Yeah.
I think that I think the price is like $6.99 or something, the same price, but obviously that's without a lens, so that's something
Yeah.
that we can
Yeah.
take a look at. Matter of fact, I think what I'll do is I'll bring it up in B&H to take a look, see what it actually looks like as far as the price goes. But if I remember correctly, it had to do with not having a lens is one of the issues that at
Right.
the time people were having with going with something like a ZV-1, like what I have here, that's a true point and shoot where there is no lens. The lens is built in, that you have a little bit
Right.
of a telephoto in there, in comparison going with the E10. I personally think the E10, like you were saying, is really a nice idea because now you have the ability to pick what the focal length of the lens is going to be that you're using. So if I want something really wide, I can go with something wide. If I need something that is a little bit telephoto, we can do that. If you want to do a prime, you can do a prime to let more light
Yep.
in, whatever you want to do. Also, you're getting that bigger sensor. So instead of like what I'm using here, which is a 1-inch sensor, you're going to have that APS-C sensor, which will give you a little bit better milky depth of field. For this type of show that I'm doing here, the distance is okay. It's blurry enough in the back, but not too blurry. I actually have to stop it down a little bit because we don't, if it's too blurry, you don't even know what's going on behind me, and it just turns into, a whole bunch of mud, a whole bunch of colors, which is really not what I'm looking for. So let me go and pull this up, and you guys can see it. And here it is, right here. This is with the, let me see. This comes with a 50 millimeter. Let me switch over. There we go. That's with a 50 millimeter. Let's move us around here. 50 millimeter prime. This is oh no, it's not. It's a 16 to 50. And that is a 3.5 to 5.6. I hate variable lenses. I like things that stay a fixed, let's say 2.8, 1.8, 1.4, whatever. But so this is going to be a cheap lens. So if you can get the camera at $698, obviously this is like $100 lens. But I mean, it looks pretty awesome for $799, right? Not bad at all.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. And if you're using it for studio work, in a controlled environment like your studio or mine, you can control that lighting and you know, the varying focal f-stop and everything like that is not as big of a concern because you can work with it.
Right.
Out in the field, I mean, maybe that's a little bit more of an issue. But there's other lenses that you can get for them.
Right.
And that's the great thing.
Yeah, you can
So
always swap
seven
out
hundred
lenses.
dollars, yeah, $700 for the body only. That's the same price as a ZV-1 with its built-in lens. Throw on whatever lens you want. That's additional money. Um, But
Right.
I think in
Right.
general, you probably for studio work you need one lens. I mean, if you're going to be doing, location work, you may want a couple other lenses just
Mm-hmm.
to give you some different capabilities.
Yeah, so
But
this camera comes in black or white, either which way. And as we can see here, you have options to buy it either body only, which would be that 698, or you can get a 10 to 18, the 16 to 50, which is what is shown here in the picture, an 18 to 105, a 16 straight prime, which is 2.8. I like that really
yeah,
pretty well. At an APS-C, that's probably wide enough for what I'm doing. Also a 35 millimeter 1.8, which is a prime also. And then finally, you have that zoom, or actually you have two. You have the 16 to 50, which is the one that you see in the picture. And then finally a 70 to 350, kind of ultra telephoto, let's call it. So that's pretty cool. Like
yeah,
you said, there's a bunch of options. You can go primes, you can go wide, you can go, you can get stuff really, at 350 with the APS-C, it's out there over 400. So it's, you can grab stuff far away. Once again, 24 millimeter, it does have that same, 24 megapixels, has that same 3-inch back panel. It goes up to 11 frames per second, which is awesome. And it shoots 100 to 3200 ISO, and it does do the 1080p at 120 frames per second that a lot of people are looking for, that slow-mo. And of course, you'll get 4K at 30p. So I do like this camera a lot, and I think it's probably something for you to look at. The only reason I would recommend a ZV-1 over this is if you want something that is pocketable. You just stick in your pocket, you hit the
right.
off button, the thing compresses into this little
Shrinks
tiny
back
thing,
down.
and you just stick into your
Yep.
pocket and you go, and you still have a really good camera, especially for video, like what I use it for. So, that is always a possibility. But if you're doing something like what you're doing, this is great because you can just throw on whatever lens you want, and call it a day. So
Right.
not bad at all.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it a lot. Let's get
Yeah,
in
I
there.
think it'll definitely work out for our needs and our client needs as well. And
Yeah,
plus, you can use it for streaming. I mean, you're using your ZV-1 for streaming right now,
right.
as well as when you record. It has clean HDMI out, so you can drop it into an Elgato 4K cam link, drop that into your computer, get beautiful streaming video footage. So it's definitely a good multi-use camera.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Let's take a look at some of those chat comments in here. See if there's any questions that we can answer while we're going into one of the other things that I wanted to talk about. I know there's other stuff in there that's popping through, so let me know when you see something. I did a video this week about the industry basically faltering, and I was talking about the numbers, and I was telling you earlier about this, Trevor, where there's people out there that are on the fence, either to move into mirrorless or stay with DSLRs, and it is a hard decision for a lot of them due to the price at one time, whereas the
Right.
price of DSLRs would really dumped a little bit. But now the used market for DSLRs is just exploding. The price, they're holding their price a lot better now than mirrorless is, which is very interesting because a lot more people are wanting them. And it could have to do with, people not having jobs like they used to, and maybe they're having to cut corners a little bit, and instead of getting the shiny new object that a lot of people want and that we all want, that shiny new object, they're saying, you know what,
Right.
let me just get this good enough camera for now, and then when things get better, and let's say I get more gigs, or when the job pays more, or when I get my job back, we can
Yeah.
go into a mirrorless system. What we've seen, and I've reported on, is that the DSLRs, if you bought a DSLR in 2018, let's say 3 years ago, and you sold it today, 3 years later, you're going to get 2.2% less for selling it. All right. So it's going to go down 2.2%, which is nothing. If you bought a mirrorless in 2018 and you sold it today, you're losing close to 13%. I think it's like 12.6. Let's call it 13. So from 2% to 13% is a massive difference in the amount of, loss. And that has a lot to do with that breakneck speed that's been going on, where it's almost like we're back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when DSLRs were just, crazy. You literally would get like a 10D and then a 20D and then a 30D and then a 40D all within like a year or two. They were just putting them out there like chiclets, just like throwing them out there. And it's the same thing that we see Canon is doing as of late when it comes to their mirrorless lineup of full frame. It's like over and over there, it's the R and the RP, the RA and the R5, the R6, the R and the R and the R, right? And then a ton of RF glass just like pouring into the market that's very expensive. So people are like, hey, wait a second, can I afford that? That is a lot of money. That's not a little bit. That is a lot of money.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure. And and I think a lot of people that are still in the DSLR camp, that's their comfort zone.
right.
They're invested. They have, thousands and thousands of dollars in lenses, and they kind of want to stay in the DSLR camp to be able to utilize the gear they already have. Buying a $3,000 body that will take the lenses they have is a heck of a lot cheaper than switching all your gear. Trying to sell your gear right now could be a tough gig.
Right.
The facts are the economy is, let's say it's recovering, but it's not where it was in 2019.
Right.
And people are still struggling to make ends meet. One of my clients, this company is dropping people like crazy. These veterans that have been with this company for a very long time, ever since I've been working with them, are leaving for new jobs, and they're replacing them with new people. So, what's going on there? There's a lot of turmoil in the market right now. And I think from a professional photography standpoint, the photographer needs to get the gigs they can get to pay the bills, to keep the lights on at the house. And I think investing in new gear may not be the wise decision right now, unless you have the need for it. Unless you're in an industry that, weathered the storm, maybe you're doing commercial work and, you still have business and you need a particular piece of equipment, then, well, obviously, then great. But as far as the average photographer, I think it's more like, use what you've got, get through this, try and stay in business so you don't have to go work at Lowe's or Home Depot, and then revisit the buying when you get out.
Yeah.
When we get out of this thing.
Yeah, we got a chat message here from Unbroken who's saying that a lot of the individual sites have these unrealistic prices for the old cameras, and he's referencing obviously Adorama, B&H. You got KEH out there. There's a lot of people, and yes, and that's where we're seeing where DSLRs are really holding their value. Is a lot of these sites, they're not dropping the DSLR prices very much. And if you take a look, for example, at DSLR glass over on eBay or wherever, it's still extremely expensive. It is not going down. And I think a lot of that has to do with these manufacturers kind of shot themselves in the foot when it comes to the mounts that they come up with, these converters, right? Like, for example, like an EF to RF converter, you can throw your EF glass, your Canon professional L glass onto an R camera. And not only does it do a good job, it does a hella good job. So good that sometimes using it ends up being better if you use one of these mounts that actually have a means of sliding in ND filters and all this kind of stuff. There is definitely benefits. Is it as good as using, native glass? No, but still, it's so damn good that it's very hard. And people are they're buying some of the older glass, saving a couple of $100 because the RF is so expensive. And that holds true, with Nikon glass and whatnot. It's the exact same thing. That's a good point, Unbroken. I think that is a very, very good point. One of the other things we have here, Michael, he says, hey, Jay, I would love to see Fuji Mono X100. And, you and me both. Some people don't know what that is. Basically, it's a camera. Leica has done it. A lot of manufacturers have done it, where it's a monochromatic camera for shooting black and white. And a 100, let's say, would be like a 100 megapixel medium format, GFX camera, that would be unfriggin' believable, because people that shoot black and whites like I do, I show some of my black and white work in different studios, different locations, galleries, and I sell them. But that type of work, if you do like doing any type of black and white work, to be able to get a 100 megapixel just monochrome camera would be unbelievable, because the amount of data that is there that you cannot have to try to recover through a color image is like second to none. You take a true mono camera and take a color image and then turn it, desaturate the image, they're not on the same level, not even close. So yeah, you and me both, Michael. That would be fantastic to actually see that. You don't see them very often. Like I said, Leica has done it. There's been some out there, but let's say not a lot. Let's see here. What other questions? Are you seeing some in here? I know someone asked about the Fujifilm X H2. I forgot, it was like way back at the beginning. They wanted some thoughts on it. I think that I think they were asking about, will it have the same body as like a GFX, like a bigger body. I don't think so. I think the H2 is going to be an amazing camera that will be the upgrade to the Fujifilm X-H1. I just think that they're just going to throw the kitchen sink into it. I think they're going to do a lot of video-centric work with it. Fujifilm is seeing that video is massive right now, and that a lot of folks out there are looking for a video, or let's say a hybrid type of camera. And since that is the case, Fujifilm is even looking at high-end video, let's say like XLR and whatnot, for their GFX line. Okay, so they know that video is big. They know that a lot of photographers are no longer just photo-centric. They do video also. Video also. So that hybrid shooter is where a lot of these companies are looking. And we see that also when we see reviews. When these when these sites, like DP Review or whoever does reviews on cameras, they almost always hone right into video. They're like, oh yeah, wait. That thing only does 120. We want to see 240p. What's going on? You know what I mean? It goes straight into video, even though it's almost like, yes, all photo is going to be great on today's digital. Well, how about video? Is it also great? How well can you track someone's eyes, or, a car, or, a moving sports figure or whatever, or maybe a flying saucer coming by, right? Because we know they're real. Because the government said
they're real.
That's right. So, but that's it. It's like the hybrid shooters are really taking control these days. And when I say taking control, they are requesting this, they want it, and now these manufacturers are having to produce it. And with the H2, they're going to be very video-centric. And I think in so doing, the body itself could be a little bit bigger. I don't think as big as a GFX. I still think they're going to use the same body, but using a larger body does allow for greater heat dissipation, okay? So you don't run into these heat issues and you end up like a Canon, that just screwed the pooch with their EOS R5, and the damn thing was like nuking itself, melting down, because, they knew this was going to happen. They put out the information saying, it can only handle this amount at 8K or whatever. But people don't care. They still are going to push it until the damn thing melts or shuts down, and then they're going to complain about it, which, it is what it is. The only way to be able to do it is you need to have internal cooling, or you need to have a larger camera that has better heat dissipation, heat sinks and whatnot in it to be able to disperse the heat. So, it kind of is what it is. You see more questions? Let me go ahead and stick them.
Anthony said up top there, he said, why didn't Nikon and Canon just adapt their flagship DSLR bodies into mirrorless cameras? They wouldn't have had to make a whole new lineup of lenses. They would have kept many more customers from Sony.
Right.
So, I think that's technical logistics, right? The way without the mirror in there and where the sensor location is, you can't just use the same body with the flange and the lenses. Right. It's technically, too difficult. So, in order to get the best results without having to use an adapter to connect, to work with a mirrorless sensor, they made their own lineup of lenses that just fit right on there. Plus,
Right.
again, it's they're selling it with the idea that these lenses are made for the mirrorless camera. They're going to work the best with the mirrorless camera. But realistically, it gives them something else to sell. It
Yeah.
gives them another product, another lineup, another avenue to bring in customers and get them committed to the mirrorless body, because now they have all the mirrorless lenses.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the things that I've been questioned about many times, and I think it's a good platform to actually answer this question, and some of you guys might actually have this question also. Will Canon have an EOS 7 or R7 come out in the near future? And what lenses will it use? Now, if you don't know, Canon has been, taking all of their DSLRs, converting them into R, let's say, bodies, full frame bodies. So, you have an R5, which will be a replica, let's say, of a 5D. You have the R6, the same thing, 6D. You have a one, most likely an R1 that will be coming out. That will be a flagship of their 1DX Mark III. So will they come out with a EOS R7? Which would be a replacement to a 7D or a 7D Mark II. And I think they will. But I think that it will be APS-C also, but I think that they'll probably go down the same road that Sony did, where it's one mount for both glass. So yes, it might be an APS-C camera at a really affordable cost, okay? But it'll probably use RF glass. I don't see them creating a whole nother lineup of lenses for a mirrorless APS-C camera. I don't think it makes any sense. So I do think that we will see an R7, maybe 2022, possibly. We know an R1 will most likely hit the market in the beginning to mid 2022 also. I'm going to guesstimate or speculate right here, it probably will. So maybe they'll do an R7 at the same time. But once again, glass. They always want to make more glass and they want to make more cameras so you can buy different and varying stuff so they can make more money. But I can't see them putting together an entire line, a whole lineup of new lenses. That's my personal opinion. What do you guys think, right? Throw it in the chat. Let's see. What do we got here? Let's see. Customers could wait for 2022. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, you just read that. So Frederick said the industry and consumers could be waiting for 2023. Companies don't typically make knee-jerk moves. So, I mean, yeah, I think you're right. I think the confidence in buying right now is low, and your consumers are not spending thousands and thousands of dollars on new cameras and new lenses and new equipment because honestly, they just don't have the money, or they don't want to take the money right now when they may need it down the road. Because
Right.
the future is uncertain at this time. We don't know if things are going to get crazy again and go into lockdown and people losing jobs again. We don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
And because of that unknown, I think people are being very conservative about their buying. And I think the companies are being very conservative about their investing in R&D. You hear a lot of companies that are laying people off. People are working, less hours, they're working remotely, whatever. They're resizing offices, they're downsizing buildings, they're getting smaller buildings, whatever. There's a lot that's happening on both sides, both the consumer and the manufacturer side. So I think that a lot of these manufacturers just kind of want to ride the wave for a while, see where they land, and then they'll start revisiting new products. And I mean, they've already got things in the works. They're already thinking about things, but I don't think they want to get too deep into production, and releasing anything, until things settle out.
Yeah.
So 2023 is probably a safe bet.
Yeah, I mean, putting together, all these brilliant cameras and all this stuff and no one buying them is kind of like putting on a show, alluding to the Javits Center and PPE, and no one shows up. You just can't do it, or your manufacturers don't show up. You just can't do it. There's no ROI. There's no return on investment. You're going to lose a lot of money. It just doesn't make sense. Let me see here. Freddie says, I hope you guys have more shows like this. It's been very interesting. Thank you very much, Freddie. Really, really appreciate that. Always love doing these because I think that it's a lot of fun to be able to have these one-on-ones, kind of communicate with you guys and be able to answer questions real time in comparison to having to do it in the comment area. I think it's fantastic. I love it. I absolutely love it. We're going to get out pretty soon. We went for an hour. That's normally like the limit for these things, but we'll go a little bit longer, maybe another 5-10 minutes. And then, so any other questions you guys have for either Trevor or myself, put them into the chat window. Also, if you're watching this, once again, not live, Memorex, so to speak, recorded, go ahead and put those questions into the comment area. Before we go, I always want to say that if you haven't picked up any of my ebooks, go and head over to JCristina.com/books. You can get my ebooks free if you go over there. And I also have a copy of my actual new book. Let me see. It's over here, right here. You can always buy this, or you can find a Kindle version of this on Amazon, or you can pick up the actual book signed or unsigned from me over on my website, JCristina.com. It's how to create a digital Fort Knox, backing up your digital life. I teach you basically how to do that, how to take 10-year-old parts out of your garage and back up your digital life, creating a NAS very easily. Also, people were asking, did I get more of these back in because they were out of stock? Over at B&H, they didn't have any more, but we got them mass batch. They have hundreds over there of all of these ACC products, which is my Aurora Camera Care product. So we have this in Micro Four Thirds, APS-C, as well as full frame to clean your sensor. So you can pick this up over on my website, B&H Photo and Video, small mom and pops all over the place, wherever. So pick those up. Clean your damn sensors, people. So many people are like, God, you know, I go into post-production and for some reason I got all these dots in the sky. Yeah, that's all dirt and debris. Clean the sensor. I make it super, super easy. I have to say, even though I made this, it is definitely a better mousetrap. It is the best sensor cleaning kits that you're going to find. They're not, they come pre-moistened little swabs. You know exactly how much liquid is on there, so it's always right. You clean your sensor easily. You use a wet, then you use a dry. Everything is perfect. You're not trying to figure out how many drops of cleaner, and it's just like a hot mess. So definitely check those out. But anyways, let's get back into some of these questions that are going to be coming through before we call it. Let's see. We have fares of, let me see, Arabia. Let me see. R7 with speed booster and EF class. Yeah. That would be pretty sweet. They can definitely do it. Like I said, I think that they'll take a page out of the playbook of Sony and use the exact same mount on APS-C or full frame. I think that's going to be what happens. So if you attach an RF lens to, let's say, an R7 and APS-C, it just uses the inner portion of the lens. What does that mean? You just simply get the best area of the lens. Okay, that is the best area. So that's probably what's going to end up happening with that. What else we got here, Trevor? You see more? All right. Thank you so much. Great show. Let's see. Richard says, I haven't not spent all I can on glass. My next big purchase will be a new PC and monitor to tether as the studio opens up again. Yeah, so, you know, once again, when it comes to the cameras and stuff, I think that's a great idea. Once again, return on investment. If you have a camera that's good enough, you have, let's say you're shooting a DSLR and it's a 5D Mark IV, and you're using it for weddings, right? To buy an R5 and spend all that money to get just a marginal benefit is stupid, in my personal opinion, when you can, like what Richard is saying here, you know, purchase a new PC so that you can edit faster and better and things are just moving and you can shuck and jive and get projects done quicker. That's just better value. And I think today, Trevor, most people are looking at value less than, you know, the tech. Whereas in yesteryear, it's like, oh my God, you know, we went from 8 megapixels to 12. You know, I got to go with this. Now they're like, I don't really care about megapixels. Does it track my eyes or does it, you know, pulsate from front to back?
Right.
If you're doing video, you know, if it's the actual photo side of it, you know, how fast does it lock up? You know, how does it work? Does it work really well? It's all about that and not so much about a gadget? Does it do the job? How is the value? Once
Right.
again, am I actually getting my money's worth out of it? And can I get the exact same value out of something cheaper? And like we were talking about, we've been talking about with the pandemic and everything, people are looking for the best value that they can, cheaper, that does the exact same job. So in my personal opinion, if you're looking for a new camera and you're like brand new to the market, buy a camera that does exactly what you do, what you need it to do, nothing more, nothing less, but nothing more. And then later on, if you want to upgrade and, if you need something to do something better, a perfect example, if you need to shoot 1080p today, well, get a camera that just does 1080p really, really well. Don't go and buy a 4K or an 8K R5. It's overkill and you're not going to use it anyways.
Yeah.
So most people
Right.
only use about 20-30% of a camera anyways. Half the people pick up a camera, they're looking at the back, they're like, holy crap, what is all these menus? What is all this stuff? They don't use it, right? So
No,
get something
no.
that will do your job. And I love this idea here, just buying a PC, with a new monitor in comparison to buying a new, kit, a new lens or a new camera. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, a new computer is going to be my next big purchase as well. I'm long in the tooth here with my MacBook Pro. It works great, nothing wrong with it, but it's time to upgrade. So I'm waiting for the next gen large format iMacs, whether it's a 27-inch or a 30 plus. That's what I'm looking for. I'm a Mac guy. I know you're a PC guy now, but
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I've been a Mac guy since Mac started. My first Mac was an Apple II Plus. So I've been using Apples. There's an Apple behind me for, forever, for decades and decades, ever since, like I said, the very first Apple was to come out.
Right.
Programming in assembly language, Pascal at the time, actually programming, way back in the day, writing chips, doing coding for EPROMs and stuff like that. So I've always been like a tech head, and I've always been interested in Apple. I love Apple, but for me, their price became to a point where it was just cost prohibitive to go with the latest, greatest
Right.
Apples, where I can build one like I have here, which will be able to edit 4K for less than half the price, which I did like a year and a half, 2 years ago. I actually have a video of me and my son building this system. So it just made more sense. And then when Adobe went, to PC and Apple, and they were kind of equal when I was doing Adobe, it just also made sense. All of the software that I needed was on the PC, number one. And then some software that Apple didn't provide, that wasn't available, was available on PC. I'm like, I just had enough. Do I love Apple? I still do. I use them. I use iPad. I have an iPad Pro, iPhone and everything. But, for the studio, when I have to have multiple machines, it just made more sense to go with something that just did the job. And PC was the way it goes. So I use both. I'm kind of eclectic like that,
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see what else we have here. Frederick says, can we see 8K? Yeah, you can. What is it? I think it's the R5 that does 8K. The thing is that it's just not even, my TV doesn't do 8K, so it doesn't really matter. You can produce content at 8K. It really is kind of stupid. This camera right here will do 8K. I tried it for about 4 or 5 episodes, and what I found out was doing 4K, doing the 4K on this, and then later on editing it. Number one, it took it took more time. Number one. Number two, the files were so damn immense that just storing these files was just crazy. Matter of fact, that was one of the reasons why I wrote this book. As I built this NAS, I was getting had to back up so much data. It was crazy, gigabytes and gigabytes. Like each one of these shows were like, 12 to 16 to 20 gigabytes. And I went to 4K and it was like double that. I'm like, I need more room. So that's why I ended up building the NAS for security as well as for the room. And we have 30, 40 terabytes that are in there that are available to us now, which is really nice, all centralized and backed up.
Right.
So, I don't know. I don't think that it's worth it, number one, because people can't see 8K. The only benefit, guys, to getting or shooting 4K instead of shooting or even shooting 8K, when we work on set, if you need to, for example, episodic TV stuff that I work on, if you need to be able to zoom in the editors after the fact,
Right.
having greater data, having more data, even though you're going to be, shipping out 1080p, having 4K allows you to come in and out 20, 30%, right? Without having to worry about any degradation of the pixels, right? Everything still looks fantastic, even if you're zooming in and out that 20, 30%. So it gives you a little bit more leeway to be able to do cuts and edits in post-production. But, even for us on set, we're using multiple cameras. You have a bouncer, on a slide that's going back and forth. You got multiple different angles that you can always cut to. Small cams, big cams, a whole bunch of EVA ones. How much we love Panasonic, but that's what we use. So, obviously they don't autofocus. They're all set to manual focus, and they actually use Canon EF glass on them. But so having that extra data just makes sense if you're going to be doing post-production work. But that's really about it,
Yeah.
guys.
If you're going to be doing that level of work, I agree. I think having the computer system to be able to edit 4K, having the equipment to shoot it. I think in general, as content creators, though, 4K is not necessary. It's too much, because when you're looking at YouTube content, as content production, you need to get it done. You need to get it done quickly. You need to get it out. And trying to do 4K YouTube videos, it's so much overhead that you need in order to get this even uploaded to YouTube. And then the benefit of having 4K up there, how many people can actually stream 4K video over their internet connection? It's getting there. As ISPs get faster, but right now it's not there. So I think for me and my company and what we're doing is for content creation, the final output is definitely just going to be 1080p. And if we find the need to do that higher level of work and to edit in 4K, well, then we'll address it then. But I think
absolutely,
now, 1080 is plenty.
Yeah, you can't. It's more than sufficient. So, anyways, guys, I just want to thank everyone for hanging out with us. TGIF, thank God, right, guys? Thank God it's Friday. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Tell your friends about the channel, colleagues, put it onto your favorite Facebook group or whatnot to get more people to come and subscribe. That would be awesome. If you're not subscribed as of yet, please subscribe. Click the little bell icon so when we go live again, hopefully soon, or when I come out with a new video, you'll be notified of it immediately. That's what YouTube says, but they never do it. Let's just hope that they start they fix it. But anyways, let's close by, Trevor, anything that you want to say or send people over to your website or whatnot, go right ahead, jump right in there.
Yeah, sure. I think for this audience of photographers and videographers, probably the best place to go is currentphotographer.com. That is a site that has been around for 12 years now. There is a massive amount of content on there. There is so many evergreen articles to help photographers in their business, to help you make better photos, and to even help with your business side, like your website and getting new clients and things like that. So a lot of great content there. I'm hoping in the near future we're going to get a nice little revamp of that site. We're going to kind of add to the community and expand more into the creative services in general, as opposed to just photo and video, which
Right.
I think is where a lot of people are leaning this way anyway. A lot of people are becoming creators, content creators. A lot of people are getting, into design along with their photography. So I think it'll be a good transition and expand for the creative community.
Yeah, I agree. I think, we are all moving into that creative type of genre, it seems. There's a lot of people that originally were doing one thing, but now they can't just do one thing. They're doing multiple things and they have side hustles. And a lot of those side hustles, are creative side hustles, especially for people watching on this channel that are photography videography oriented tech heads and whatnot. So it's it's definitely where it seems like we're going. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for being here. We really truly appreciate each and every one of you for stopping by. And going forward, if you have any suggestions for other live shows that we do or anything else that I put on this channel, I am an open book. I'm waiting for you to give me suggestions. I've been doing this for quite some time, 10 years from the podcasting side, now about 2 years here on YouTube, year and a half, about 2 years doing video. Anything new that you want to see on this channel, let me know. Definitely let me know, because I'm always trying to figure out what you guys want to see to be able to give it to you. There's, like I said, 600 videos already. The next 600, I want to kind of tweak them and gear them specifically for your needs. So anyways, Trevor, thank you so much for coming. This has been awesome. I think a lot of people got some enjoyment out of it, and at least I hope they do. And maybe we'll do another one next week or the week after that or sometime soon.
Sure. My pleasure. It's great
All
chatting with you all, and we'll see you soon.
Excellent. All right, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Many blessings to you and your family. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have a fantastic weekend. We'll talk to you soon.